Hi everyone, it's Ray here from City Fan TV, and I'm joined by Bernard Deneen from the Citizen Channel. How you doing, Bernard?
I'm fine, mate. Yeah, I'm busy, but yeah, that's, people say to you, missing football. I said, I do football every day. I mean, I've just spent 5 days doing something at Gundogan. So, I mean, I'm still there. I'm watching goals. I'm watching games back. So I'm not really missing football because I'm still doing it.
When you can't sleep, instead of counting sheep, you do the crossbar challenge.
Yeah.
Well, guys, following on from our, I think, very well-received videos about City's finances. We did some videos with Colin Savage, finance expert, last week about FFP and all the stuff going on there with the 115 charges. We were talking about whether City would be that first £1 billion turnover club. You might think it's far-fetched, but we should be hitting 700 million this year. And I think really it's just a matter of time before that happens. Especially when you've got maybe the new Club World Cup coming out, the new Champions League format in a couple of years' time. It's going to be should be a lot more money involved there. But this video is basically following on from that. We're going to talk about the fact that Manchester City are the best run club, both on and off the pitch. Obvious, City won the treble this season. Right now, City are the best club side in world football. Champions League winners, title winners, FA Cup winners. So I don't think there's going to be any arguments about that. But I'm going to look about what's going on off the pitch. And we've seen with other clubs, not just in England, but you've seen the financial issues that Barcelona have been dealing with. You've seen, PSG's kind of fall from grace with the Galacticos and the kind of shunning them now, and the player issues they've had there. We've seen in the Premier League, Chelsea spent an absolute bundle of money, and they're still spending more and more money. We've seen Arsenal already this window spent over £200 million. And they're still looking to buy more players. Liverpool, £100 million. United, it's only 60 million, but they're still looking for a striker, another centre-back. Before you know it, that'll be £150 million. Everybody's spending a lot of money. Apart from, so far, City. So we're going to look at why City are the best run club off the pitch. Now, you've seen our finances. They're awesome right now. Stunning. But City make a lot of good decisions, and I think that's the key to it. We've seen, especially in the last few years, City very rarely make a bad decision with transfers in or out. If you go back to 2009, that sort of time, 2009, 2010, we were managed by Mark Hughes, just been taken over. We made some pretty poor decisions. Truth be told, we bought mercenaries. There's no two ways about it. We bought a bunch of mercenaries. We've got Wayne Bridge. I remember we got him. Remember Rocky Santa Cruz? We got a lot of players who just weren't good enough, and we were paying big money, and it was a bit of a mess. But since we've had our eye on the ball, genuinely we've got better and better and better. Now, I saw a video a few days ago. It was about our chief executive, Ferran Soriano, ex of Barcelona, and I'm guessing I think he was talking in the Middle East to business people, and he was talking about making decisions at the right time. And he had this little curve, like an N-shaped curve. And the idea was to know when or where you are on that curve. And it could be a player or a manager. So, the best manager was still on the upward part of the curve. Top manager was on the top of the curve. And on the way down, he's still a good manager, but then it tapers off. And you look at someone, I'll give you an example, Jose Mourinho. When he came Porto to Chelsea, he was on that upward curve. And then he kind of stabilized at the top. He still did well at Inter. And now he's gone down a bit. He's still a good manager, and he's going down that curve. And others will do it. Like we've seen potentially Conte do the same. So we don't know where Pep is on that curve. We don't.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. Has Pep topped out? Well, he just won the league title. He's won the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup. Has he topped out? I don't think so. Has he plateaued? Is he still on the upward curve? That would be frightening if he was still on the upward curve and there was more to come from him. But it also, that theory also applies to players. Now, Ferran Soriano talked about different things. I might play a little extract from that video. Obviously, conscious of playing too much and having a problem with copyright.
Everything in life goes in cycles, economic cycles, sports cycles, any cycle. So who are the best managers of the world? The ones that take decisions before the cycle change. I'll give you one example. 2006, Barcelona had won everything, but we knew we had problems, and we had offers to sell players. Ronaldinho, as an example, 60 million euros. And we said no. Then 1 year later, things went wrong, as expected, and we sold him for 25 million euros. So we lost a lot of money in 1 year. So my quick advice is take decisions ahead of the curve. And if you lose some dollars, it's okay. Don't fight for the last dollar. Because if you do it, you can be brilliant to take the decision in the last minute, but you're very risky. I happen to know, this is just an anecdote, my last one. I happen to know somebody in Spain that bought for $5 billion the biggest real estate company in Spain in 2007. 5 billion. In 2008, as you know, the world changed, and that company was worth nothing. I know the guy who sold for 5 billion and the guy who bought for 5 million. I know both of them. And I can tell you, when this guy sold for 5 billion, a lot of people said, he's making a mistake. This is probably worth 6 million. 6 billion. 1 year later, it was worth 0.
And he talked about various incidences in his career where it was all about the timing. And you don't know what's around the corner. We don't know. And I'm going to talk mostly about players in this video and get players' input as to whether they were a success or a failure, or we sold them at the right time. Because it's not just you sold somebody. You could sell a player on his way up or who still has a lot of potential, but the money was right. And subsequently, it's proven generally the case. So I'm going to start off by giving you some examples. And you tell me whether you think we got rid of these players at the right time. Here we go. Here's an example. Or the money was right to make it worthwhile. And then we'll have a look at some players that City's recent signing history to show that generally it has been very, very good. So I just pulled up about 7 or 8 names of players who were doing well, but we let them go. And I think we've been proven right. Just give you an example, Ottomendi. Now, he had his detractors at City, but while he was here, he was part of that Centurions team. I think he was part of the Formidables that won all the domestic trophies. And we let him go. And I think overall, that's proven right. He was just on the downside. He's had some decent games, but now I think he's gone. What do you think about Ottomendi? Did we let him go?
Who did we actually buy? Can you remember who we bought instead of Ottomendi at that stage? Did we let him go and then rush around trying to buy someone, or?
Now you're asking a question. So we let Ottomendi go. Do you remember the season? Was it 1920-ish? I'm trying to remember when we let Ottomendi go. So now you're making me work, Bernard. I did some homework, and you're actually making me work really hard. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm trying to find out the year.
Obviously, Pep had him 2 or 3 years, didn't he? Pep had him 2 or 3 seasons, so he could see what he was getting out of him and what he wasn't getting out of him. And we can see what he's doing with the centre-backs at the moment. They become very adaptable, his new centre-backs, but obviously that's way down the line. I mean, this, we're talking 4 years ago when Ottomendi left, and he hadn't done that as such. Defensively, he hadn't really thought, to me, he hadn't really thought about the defence that much. He let the midfield and the midfield attack take the thing, and he accepted that we were going to defensively a little bit weak.
Well, I've got Ottomendi leaving in 2020, according to this website that I'm looking at Soccer Base.
So he was there for a good three seasons with Pep, wasn't he?
And he's gone off to Benfica, and he's dropped
off. 4 seasons even.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. He's dropped off. The other players, and I'll rattle through them, and hope you'll probably agree with most. Fabian Delph.
Yeah,
Centurions and the Formidables.
Oh, did well because of his obviously his injuries. Did well to get rid of him and get. We got a bit for him, didn't we? I think
8 or 10 million. But what's he done? Basically, the question is, what's he done since? Nothing.
I mean, anyone was stupid buying Delph, but I mean, perhaps for 8 or 10 million, you take the risk, don't you? You're of actually getting a few games out of him. So,
yeah, but I mean, I'm just looking down my list. I've got him at £8.5 million left in 2019.
He went at the right time as far as we had as much as we were going to get, and Pep had reutilized him, of course, made him into a different player.
Yeah, and this is the point of this video. We let Delph go at the right time. Okay, it wasn't a lot of money, but Delph has not done anything at Everton, and he's pretty much he was hated by the Everton fan. A lot of the fans. Ferran Torres, we got him quite reasonably cheaply under, I can't remember the numbers, but it was under 20 million. We sold him for, was it just over 50 million?
Yeah, he's different because he just didn't buy into. He didn't want to stay. As simple as that.
He came during COVID, didn't he?
Yeah. So I mean, he's slightly different. I mean, I've been watching some of Gundo's early stuff back in the 16, 17 onwards. So he kept popping up when I was looking at highlights and stuff like this. And you think, he wasn't too bad. He wasn't too bad. He was all right. But he was just where he did want to. At the end of the day, we'll let him go, and he wanted to go. So fine.
Well, my point about Torres is we got so much money that it was worth letting him go, and subsequently, it's proven right. His heart wasn't in it. Gundogan has just left. Now, I wanted Gundogan to stay. I said he's got probably at least a couple of years at a very high level ahead of him. But who's to know what he's going to do next year? Is he on the slide? You know, he might look like he's on the top.
The thing with Gundo is that we're doing this special on him. I mean, you forget just how much he was a sub and how much, you forget he played a lot of games, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't a key element for Pep the last couple of seasons. It sounds stupid, but obviously he won those games for us, you think, to last season and this season. But he wasn't in Pep's main 11, if you like, or his main guys for the big games.
In his first few seasons, he did have a problem because Fernandinho was playing. Okay, so he's your DM. No one's pushing him out of the way. We had David Silva. Remember him? And KDB. How can he start ahead of any of those guys?
Yeah.
So, that's my feeling about that. So in the early days, it was a bit more tougher. But I mentioned David Silva. Now, once again, I thought he had another season at the top level at City in him.
Yeah, but he didn't want just a season, did he? That's the thing.
But also he's gone. In retrospect, it looks at the right time. Sterling, in my opinion, he stayed a little bit too long. But again, he's gone. We've got a good chunk of money for him. And what's he done at Chelsea? Nothing. Jesus and Zinchenko.
Obviously, from his point of view, I hope the change of scenery might have done something, but of course, he just carried on that downward. He's well down there. That he had with us for the last, certainly the last season and a half. We could see it coming. Yeah.
I mean, Jesus and Zinchenko, we got a good chunk of money. I've read today about why Jesus left. It was when there's a Champions League game. It was against PSG, and Pep played Zinchenko as a false nine, and Gabriel Jesus admitted that before the game, he went to his room and cried because he said Zinchenko had even done it in training, played as a false nine, and he played him ahead of Gabriel Jesus, and he rang his mum before the game and said he's going to leave. So that was quite serious. But remember Danilo? We got a good chunk of money for Danilo. He's not really done that much, in my opinion. Even, I'll go back as far as remember Kelechi Iheanacho? We got 25 million for him, and I was sad to see him go. But on reflection, he wasn't good enough. Joe Hart, remember him? I was mad. I'll hold my hands up. I was mad.
Well, I think most City fans were. I mean, it was don't sell Joey Hart. I mean, simple as that.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever been as angry with Pep. Even that Champions League final we lost against Chelsea, and all the games that he's messed up. I was never as angry as I was about Joe Hart. We loved Joe Hart, and to lose him we thought he just wasn't given a chance. I remember there was a friendly game? He played in goal, and every time he passed the ball out, we cheered. When the fans were cheering as Joe Hart, because that was the reason he left, because he couldn't do the short passes. And a couple of other names. I'll throw one more name in, Leroy Sané. That was a mistake, in my opinion, what Pep did. But it just shows you don't always get it right. I think Pep gets it right, and Ferran and Cheeky get it right a lot more often than not. But it doesn't mean you always get it right. Pep playing him. I mean, I'll ask you what your opinion. Pep played him in that in the Community Shield. He was going to go to Bayern Munich. He wanted to leave. We were going to sell him, get about 80 million, 85 million. It was going to be a big sale. And Pep played him. How did you feel when Sane got injured?
Well, absolutely pointless. What's the point of playing someone who don't want to be at the club anyway? I mean, what is the point? I mean, it's not putting him in a showcase because it's decided, it's done. It was just needless, absolutely needless.
Yeah.
I mean, the chances of it happening, I mean, it could have happened when he was training before the game, but at the end of the day, you don't take that risk on that sort of thing.
I reckon it cost City about 40 or 50 million quid because we sold him for at least around 35, 40 million less than we were going to because he stayed another year and we paid his wages. So between 40 and 50 million pounds were lost there, and it was futile. And we, even though we knew he was leaving, we still had hope that he would stay. But my point is, most of those decisions, in hindsight, have been, whether it's by luck or judgment, have been proven right. I'm going to go through some. I would like to go through some signings, Bernard, just to get your idea as to. I think looking at the young kids is, I think, a bit false because it doesn't give you a proper picture. Because a lot of them won't make it at City. They won't come through. They won't be given the time that they need to develop. And we've seen like Romeo Labia. We sold him for whatever, 8 million or whatever it was. And he could be going for 40 or 50 million now, just a season later. And, part of you feels sad that he didn't get a chance at City. But how is he going to get a chance ahead of someone like Rodri? No chance. So you have to go away, and at least they're going away.
There's a penalty to pay for being the best team in Europe. Simple as that. There's a penalty to pay as far as youngsters coming through. Unfortunately, you've got the upside, but there is a downside, and you have to pay that penalty. And these guys can go to places like Southampton, no disrespect to Southampton, and do the business there, and they might come back to sort of haunt us over. That's why I put buybacks in, but sometimes they don't work. That.
Yeah.
I thought, like with Lavia, as you said, that's probably a bit of an error at the moment, but we weren't to think that at the time. It seemed a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah. Okay, Lavia, I'm just looking. We saw, according to this website, £10.5 million. Sterling, 47.5 million. Zinchenko, 30 million. And Gabriel Jesus was 45 million. So they were good. I mean, we sell a lot of kids, and that's probably something for another video. But, a lot of fans won't know that we sold, apparently, Samuel Edozie to Southampton for 10 million quid. Probably never heard of him. Juan Larios, 6 million quid. Probably never heard of him. And he went to Southampton. Obviously, Labia, 10 million quid. The season before, we sold him, I think, Gavin Bazunu for about 12 million. So,
there's uproar about Mr. Trafford, isn't there? What he sold him for.
Between 17 and 19 million pounds, he's gone to Burnley. People say, he's never played it above League One for Bolton, but Bolton fans rave about him. He's playing for England in was it under 23s or under 20s Euros, and he's not conceded a goal. He's playing pretty well. But he's not going to displace Edison. Or the next one I was going to talk about was Stefan Ortega Moreno. Now, last summer, I'll go through these quite quickly, but you'll get the picture, I think, very, very quickly as well. We've got Stefan Ortega Moreno. We got him on a free. He's been, I think everybody says, a success. We got Manuel Akanji for about 15, 16 million quid. He's been all right, hasn't he?
Yeah, we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait for the second season on him.
But others, there is a wait and see on Calvin Phillips. I still say wait and see. Sergio Gomez is a wait and see.
Well, he's apparently pulling up trees for the under-21s, isn't he, with Spain at the moment? He's scoring goals and playing more forward, which is what Pep probably bought him for anyway, not to defend. He probably played, obviously with Aki, he does have a problem, Pep, because Aki's not that great going forward. But, of course, he knows with Gomez, he's probably got more potential for that going forward if he wants to go back to that system, which he's sort of changed slightly, hasn't he?
And the other player we got was Maximo Perona, but he hasn't had much chance to play. But last year, we spent, if I'm right, about £77 million, most of that on Calvin Phillips. But we sold a ton of players. We got about £160 million. So I'm not fussed about net spend. It's not a good metric for me, but they were good numbers. Season before, Okay, the main players that we got, I don't. Oh, this is last summer now, or 21-22. The main players we got, well, Jack Grealish, 100 million. Okay, we paid what his release clause was. Alvarez, 14 million quid. Is that not too bad? Not too bad a deal. And Haaland, about 51. I think that's a good deal. Well, actually, some of these are a bit overlapping, some of these purchases. But I'm just going through players in because we did really well. We did really well. And we let people like Torres, we got about 50 million. Lucas Nemecha, 11 million. You will make mistakes. We let Felix Nemecha go. He went on a free to Wolfsburg. Which was it? Felix has done really well, and he's moving for big money.
Yeah.
Angelino, there's people like that. I'm just going through players' names. Okay, players in obviously Nathan Ake. He's done all right. At the time, people raised their eyebrows and said it's a bit expensive, but he's done well. And Ruben Dias has done really well. He's another one. There are not many mistakes. Ferran Torres, okay, he's come and gone, but he was a good player.
Yeah, Cancelo obviously is a bit of a funny one.
Yeah, Cancelo, but Cancelo was overall a decent player. You're not going to get everything right, but I'm saying we got most. Pedro Porro, we got him. He didn't play for us. And
Cancelo, at least he's got some value, hasn't he? As well, yeah. He's not a Mangala, is he? He's got a sell-on value, and he's still a City player, so there's still potential.
And going back, we got Mahrez was a bit raised eyebrows at 60 million, but I think overall he's done well. Around that time, the other expensive player that season, I think, was Rodri for 62 million. And he's worth a lot more than that now. And the other people we got Angelino for 5 million, Antti Palaversa for 7 million. But I say again, in the main, our players have done really well. The season before, Kyle Walker, awesome. Okay, Laporte, he's done well. We had a couple of dodgy ones. One certainly was in Benjamin Mendy, but I would say in his case, he didn't play that much because of injury. So, and I think the second major injury finished him off. Yeah. We also got Danilo. But as I reiterate, the quality of our signings this season before, the first one under Pep, we got Sane, 37 million. Gabby J, 27 million. John Stones. We got Bernardo Silva, Edison and Bravo. I mean, not all in the same time, but it's roughly. I'm just going back through what this soccer-based website, which I thought was quite good, and now it's
Bravo was a poor one, wasn't it? That was a poor investment.
But as I said, you can't get them all right. We've got most of them right, which is what I'm pleased about. And Bravo wasn't, I would say, that expensive at 15 million quid.
No. But it was going to be his main guy, and it just didn't quite work ever, did it?
So basically what I said, our finances have done really well, and we've not made too many faux pas. We've not made too many mistakes in the signings we've made. Whereas other clubs, you look at what they've done, and this is why they're bitter. This is why they're jealous. It's politics of envy here. Arsenal go out and spend £72 million on Nicolas Pepe. £53 million on Lacazette, who scores 1 in 3. If you play 36 games in a season and he scores 12 goals, it's not enough. 12 league goals, not enough. That's just 2 names. And you can go through other players Arsenal have bought and you think, what a waste of money. I mean, those two are an example. What they did with Ozil, paying him 350 grand a week. They had problems with Alexis Sanchez. You can look at other players and you scratch your head. Pablo Mari. Why did they buy Pablo Mari? There's quite a few. So they've made some very poor decisions on transfers. In United, whenever they make a big transfer, I can't think of one where they spent a heck of a lot of money and it's been a success. Pogba? No. Waste of money. Anthony? That's going to be a waste of money. You'll see. Harry Maguire? Waste of money. Fred? 52 million quid. I'm not buying that. So you look around Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea are, you can do weeks and weeks of videos on Chelsea, the mess they're in. But even Liverpool, look at Liverpool buying players that, or haven't hit the ground running, and some that are just not good enough. And that's why one of the reasons they're falling away, because the players that they've bought in, they spend a hell of a lot of money. Gakpo, Diaz, Nunez, Jota. That's 4 there. Naby Keita. Now they've just gone out and bought 2 more expensive players. So every other team has made a lot more mistakes, a lot more errors than they have got things right. I'm just saying in general. City in general get it right. So we don't have this problem of trying to, you spend 55 million on Naby Keita, you're going to keep trying to play him because that's where your money is. That's where your thought processes work. That's your reputation a little bit of you buying players. They've got to be, you want them to succeed. So you end up overplaying a player that's not good enough. I think City generally haven't been in that zone. They haven't made those mistakes. And the decisions they've made have been very, very good. And as I said, other fan bases, other clubs, they're jealous because they make mistakes. And big ones, as I said, Pepe, what a whopping mistake that was. And it's been proven right. So, as I'm going to wind down this video, but Bernard, I mean, just from your point of view, I'm pretty sure you agree. No, I don't want to give you a loaded question, but how satisfied are you? I mean, obviously, we can go back through history and talk about Peter Swales. We can talk about what Franny Lee did, and some of them had the best intentions. I'm not sure Swales did. It was all about Peter Swales. But so you've been there at the times where we were well run in the late 60s. You were knocking about watching football then. We were terribly run at times in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Obviously, you watched all that rubbish. Thaksin Shinawatra in the 2000s as well. And you see how we're run now. So do you want to just let us know your feelings as to, what difference it's been with the proper owners now rather than someone like Peter Swales?
It's the planning. It's the planning that goes behind it all, isn't it? I mean, these are like United. They don't seem to look further than the next season. Every time they do something, and City, I think, obviously cheated the guys. They got the setup right. Of course, it's upward curve. I'm sure when Pep's not around, they discuss what's happening with Pep. Officially, he's got 2 seasons left, but they'll have where he is on the curve. He might have reached the top of the curve now, and I think even himself is sort of looking at it and thinking, "Oh yeah, all right, we've got the Super Cups and all this sort of thing."
Yeah.
So he's reached that. He's reached something. And obviously, behind closed doors with Pep not around, I'm sure they're discussing that as well and what their futures are. I mean, the guys have been there a while now, haven't they? That's the problem as well. At what stage do these blokes who have run our club so superbly over the last few years, at what stage do they like Pep?
Yeah. There's the final point I want to make, and it is, now that you mentioned Pep, when Sir Alex Ferguson left United, and put the chosen one, David Moyes, in. David Gill left as well. And I think that was a double whammy. Are you concerned that if Pep goes, Cheeky Begiristan goes, Ferran Soriano goes, and we are plunged into... We're going to have a problem, I know, when Pep goes, because who can follow Pep? Who followed Wenger? It wasn't successful. Who followed... Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't successful, and there's that risk it happens at City. I think we'll be better prepared because of Kate Mantua.
I think we're best prepared generally, but as you say, it is a bit of a worry because these guys, the Cheekies. I mean, he gets crap now. He still gets crap, doesn't he? You don't have to look at social media, all the crap Cheeky gets. I mean, he must know some of it, so he's got a very broad back, and the success he does. What happens has proven that he's right, proven that he's right. So he's not, he's not going to worry too much. But yeah, I do sort of worry about that, but. Of course, with the chairman, who's going to be around for a little while, I think, still, I'm sure he is looking at things as well from his level and looking down at these guys and thinking Pep's got 2 years and Soriano and Cheeky might have a limited time as well. So it is a worry. It is a worry, but you can only think the way we've run the club the last few years, we will carry on. I don't think we'll reach, hopefully we'll reach the heights that we've reached this season, but it is that top of the curve at the moment, and it is hard to see as football fans. I mean, I'm sort of thinking about, I'll be happy with the Champions League and the Premier League next season, but that's coming down a little bit, isn't it? But it's not really, because it's a four on the trot and back-to-back Champions League. So that's, for me, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it is a worry. But we've got 2 years of Pep, and nothing, But behind the scenes, I'm sure something's going on, and perhaps Soriano and Chica have committed as well to a certain length of time. We won't know that. It's not like a manager, is it? We don't find out about all these guys, how long they've got. They just sort of suddenly disappear, don't they? Or they say, I'll be gone in 12 months, or the last 6 months. So it is a different thing. And as I say, with a well-run club, you don't want to lose, and we lose a lot of coaches. I mean, apparently Pep's no good, is he? But all his coaches get poached and took elsewhere. So he must be doing something right. You can't manage a team in the third division and get them up to all this garbage. So it is a worry. I think but it's not a worry for today. It's not a worry for next season, but it will be a worry. But I'm sure we've got the right people. I mean, from the top down, from the guy who owns us. It's as simple as that. The guy who sort of probably doesn't have he has the final say, but he doesn't stick his oar. He's not Peter Swales, is he? He doesn't stick his oar into everything. What's going on? And we have a quality chairman who hopefully will be around still for a long time. But you never know. You never know what's around. United wouldn't have thought. I think we saw hints of it, didn't we, when that last season of Ferguson, where they won the title back off us. You could see that there was no planning. It was just a matter of getting through that season and winning it for Fergie to retire on a high. So there's no forward planning whatsoever. So obviously we'll probably get hints whether we're going to go forward in a positive way, or it looks as though, hey, it's not quite right, this. And I think we'll get that hint when it happens. We don't know yet. But I think we'll talk about this, of course, hopefully, years down the line, and be saying it doesn't seem quite right, or it looks all right for the future without Pep, etc. So it's a discussion for a bit down the line, but let's fingers crossed.
Yeah. I think finally we're very lucky that Sheikh Mansour was a boyhood Man City fan. And
as long as when he was a kid, so that's all.
I've seen him with pictures of Mickey Shannon on his wall.
Well, as long as his kids are. I mean, I know his son watches it and stuff like this, does he? That's the next. I know it sounds daft. I mean, I'm probably 20 years down the line, I'll be hopefully I'm still doddering about, but that's all part of it. I mean, do you imagine down the line, before we finish, do you imagine 10 years down the line, the Sheikh will disappear and it'll be owned by some other conglomerate?
10, 12 years ago, they said he'd get bored and leave. I think he might sell some more shares. I don't see an issue with that. But I still think
it's a business proposition. Yes, of course, it's a football team to us, but of course, it's a football team to him, hopefully now as well. But it's also a business. It's also an enterprise, isn't it? It's also something. For him to get the CFG is a total package.
But here's the thing: anybody who thinks about Manchester City, they don't. 4 or 5 years ago, they never thought about a CMC, China Media Capital, who had some shares. They never thought about that. They thought Sheikh Mansour Abu Dhabi. Okay, now was it Silverwater? Silver Lake, sorry, bought 10%, and then they bought.
As long as you don't get any Yanks in, but all right. As long as the Yanks can
keep out. The hedge fund or the finance people, the investment fund, from America, they're Yanks, but they bought their 10% stake, and then they got some of the shares from the CMC. So he has let a good chunk of shares go that way.
Well, that should be good press for us in letting the Americans in anyway. I mean, what's gone on?
No, my point was this. Before I forget, my point was when you talk about Man City, it's still Abu Dhabi Sheikh Mansour. even though about best part of 20% has been sold. And it might be in 10 years' time, he might sell another 20 or 30%, but everybody will still, when you talk about Man City, you'll think about Abu Dhabi. Even if he still sells it totally, you'll still have that link between City and Abu Dhabi. So it will, he's got publicity for decades to come, I think, Man City. Well, Bernard, I'm going to knock you on the head, but thank you so much for joining us today, talking about the success of Manchester City, the best run club in the world.
Absolutely. Up the Blues.
Up the Blues. See you around, Blues.